What up, everybody? What up? LSUODYSSEY.COM here in the house. Literally in the house. I hope you are also in a house because it's probably cold wherever you're at. But it is not cold in Tampa Bay, where LSU will be facing off against Wisconsin in the hilariously corporate America aptly titled Reliaquest Bowl. Will there be something edible from the Reliaquest people, some type of edible insurance form? We'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll go through a fax machine, like they'll have a giant fax machine there. You know, like they had the giant toaster and the Pop-Tart from yesterday with the Pop-Tart bowl. So, you know, anything goes now in the bowl games. Who knows what we'll see with LSU, Wisconsin, in the Reliaquest Bowl. But our concern is less of the pageantry and more on the actual team news and what's going down there. LSU, the main team news, of course, is mostly surrounding players who aren't really on the starting lineup. Although, you know, there's some intrigue there as well with some starters, but it's more about their future after this game. Of course, Jaden Daniels opts out of the game. Wise decision. Gives Garrett Nussmeier an opportunity while getting out of the line of fire of an unnecessary game to go and prepare to be most likely a top 10, even top 5 pick here in the NFL draft, the Heisman winner. And so it also gives, you know, it's a very selfless move too. He could have just went, I want to go pad those stats even more. And, you know, if he was such a stat padder, like some of in the Pac-12, John Canzano and Marion Leaf and whoever else they got off the street to try and destabilize that Heisman push. They said he was a stat stuffer, and it was like, if he was such a stat stuffer, he would have come back for another game. Surely. We're, you know, dropping at least 500 total yards for Jaden Daniels a game, especially with Malik and Brian both coming back for the game, Logan Diggs being ready for the game. But, you know, after this game, will likely LSU, Charles Turner is going to probably go to the NFL draft. He you know, accepted the invite from the Senior Bowl. That does not 100% mean he is out the door. I'm sure LSU are probably trying to work on him staying for another season because he has another season of eligibility, even though he was a freshman on that 2019 national championship team. I'm sure Charles Turner's last game will be this one here in Tampa Bay, most likely, against Wisconsin. But you never know. Brian Kelly's staff have shown that they've been able to pull some moves when trying to retain certain players. And especially, you know you're going to be the starter. You know you're going to be depended on by the coaches. It's attractive. It's just what is Charles Turner being advised? What type of projections is Charles Turner being shown regarding his value in the NFL draft? All those type of things are factors here. Mekhi Wingo. Could this be his final game in an LSU uniform as well? Because 2 seasons now where he has been fantastic, battled hard through long seasons, but then this one was cut short. But last season he played through a torn labrum all year, including the bowl game. Clocked the snaps like crazy. Still clocked the snaps like crazy this season before his injury, which really hurt us just in time for the Alabama game. Just in time for a game where he would have been a huge help. So would, you know, just Matt House having Whit Weeks as some type of Milroe spy. Anything would have obviously helped in that game. But still, Wingo, will he return? It looked like there was more enthusiasm a few weeks ago from him, from guys like Braden Swinson, a few others saying they're going to try and work on getting him to return, as well as Mason Smith, kind of all three of them wanting to return, finish. They don't want to leave, go to the NFL with that being the final defense they're known for playing in college. Like the 2022 defense had some stellar moments, but they also had some lackadaisical moments. And so you can't really even say, oh, the 2022 defense was fantastic. We just had, Greg Brooks Jr., go out with the brain tumor. You can't really have all these excuses because there were still moments of sheer madness in 2022 as well defensively, even though it was a lot better defense. But that was a lot due to veterans like Jay Ward, B.J. Ojulari, Micah Baskerville, who no longer there. But still, you saw some stellar defensive play from guys like Wingo, Perkins. The names are hard. Braden Swinson, Jordan Jefferson, Whit Weeks, of course, whenever they dared to play him. You saw some stellar defensive play at random moments from random players who, Deshaun Womack, of course, guys who were elite, but almost lost in the shuffle because these coaches would get so stubborn and want to play the same guys over and over. And hopefully, if there's certain starters, whether we feel we have to play them or not to keep them, okay, fine. But at some point, we really need to spread these snaps around, get a lot of these guys some desired playing time, not just to keep them out of the portal, but also to see what we can get some type of chemistry between some guys, on this defense. This defense is not just going to be able to, okay, well, it's next season, we're just going to magically be better. You're still going to have Matt House there, stubborn as hell. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but is he going to be willing to go away from a guy like Major Burns or Andre Sam to Ryan Yates and Kylan Jackson at safety? Is he going to have the balls to do that? That's the type of thing. If we're going to stick with Matt House, what type of defense are we going to see in 2024 that is going to be any different than what we've already seen? We still have question marks as to his utilization of Harold Perkins after 2 seasons. And Harold Perkins has been unbelievable regardless. We put out a really thorough piece on Harold Perkins and top 10 Tigers of 2023. And we had to put Harold Perkins at number 5, the number 1 defender on the season. So that says that the top 4 players on our list are all going to be offensive guys because that's just how bad our defense was. But the 5th ranked player on that list is Harold Perkins. And we do note that, hey, we still haven't found a way to utilize Harold Perkins. That'll be interesting to me to see in this bowl game against Wisconsin, is probably not play Harold Perkins too long. But what if they also just, hey, we want to see Harold Perkins alongside some guys like Christian Braithwaite and Whit Weeks for extended reps here? That would be fantastic. Get Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins on the field together. You're going to see magic just like you saw for that few-game stretch. Arkansas versus Mississippi State. They were just unstoppable. And, they still had some bad moments defensively because our defense was shit puke this last season. But with Whit Weeks on the field, his speed, his anticipation skills totally cut the field in half for guys like Perkins and Penn. You didn't see them looking so exhausted or missing so many tackles. You saw them making more plays in some of these games where, we're playing pretty good offenses, but Whit Weeks and his speed are able to really clean up a lot of messes and blown assignments in front of him from the defensive line and really make some plays. And it's a shame that these facts go right over Matt House's head. And so that's what I'm worried about. If we continue to see this again in the bowl game, not only will we likely lose this game because we don't have an offense that can just, crap out 50 points, even with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. still there. I doubt those guys are going to play all 4 quarters plus overtime if it took that to win this game. That's just reckless and irresponsible for 2 future first-round draft picks. But man, it's a lot to put on Garrett Nussmeier's plate, because even though he's had 2 years with Joe Sloan, 2 years inside the Denbrock offense, which they're gonna run off that template, it's still going to be different than what he's been running and in practices, running in games under Mike Denbrock for the last 2 seasons. It's going to be, but still of the same template: shotgun, RPO, spread, yada yada. But it's going to be different. Joe Sloan's going to be running the run game and the protections, and working, of course, with the quarterback, controlling the backfield master. And then Cortez Hankton is going to be just expanding on his role as his already existing role as a passing game coordinator. And so I hope we see these freshman receivers given extended reps. They were, we put out an article, top 5 Tigers we want to see in this game against Wisconsin, this Reliaquest Bowl. And we cheated, because number 5 is just the freshman receivers, which are 4 different guys. Kai Perine, who hasn't even made a single appearance yet for LSU, not even on special teams, nothing. And then Jalen Brown, who's played in a few games, 0 targets. Shelton Sampson, who had 2 targets, which should have been 2 touchdown catches for him, from perfect passes from Garrett Nussmeier against Grambling. Both were dropped and go down statistically as drops by Shelton Sampson Jr. I really hope he can have a time to avenge those plays, because that was just like oh man, you could have had 2 touchdown catches as your first catches as a Tiger. Like, your first 2 catches were both 2 touchdowns. And it would have helped Garrett Nussmeier kind of pad his stats a bit more, make him look a little bit better, because, those are beautiful passes from Nuss, and just some bad drops from Shelton Sampson. But and then as the other guy, Kyle Parker, who sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, but looked pretty good in spring when he got the ball a few times. Only had something like 14, 15 yards, but there was one play where he made a few guys miss, kind of navigated his way along the sideline in a very dynamic type of way, where it's like, okay, that guy is going to be someone to watch. So the freshman receivers, I'm hoping they get an extended opportunity, because Jalen Brown could potentially be an absolute game changer freak for LSU in the future. I'm not just saying that because I think he's a good kid. I think he's a great player, and I liked his high school tape. I'm saying that because really generously, like, the athleticism he has, it's almost like a no contest between him and certain defensive back profiles, which are all over even top programs in college football. And he can burn these guys who don't have the lung capacity, the stamina, the pace to keep up with him. Even on a bad day, they're just not going to be able to keep up with him. And Nussmeier has the cannon, has the deep ball prowess to literally outrun these defensive backs with his arm, because if he puts it in a certain place, no matter how far ahead of Jalen Brown's going to get to it, which is kind of crazy and frightening. Shelton Sampson Jr. is a little bit different, kind of more of a Brian Thomas Jr. with his length, his height, his hops, and his power after the catch, but still not as fast as Brian Thomas Jr. is after the catch, not as explosive yet, but he has some type of those same qualities, and he's a complete receiver. The hands, everything. Shelton Sampson Jr., those drops, I think, went down to nerves. I think he had a lot of family there. They knew he was going to be playing in that game against Grambling, and I think he he knew he was going to get opportunities, and he dropped them. And I think it just goes down to that. Caleb Jackson, though. Caleb Jackson, did you all know that he had 249 return yards from just 10 returns, Caleb Jackson? So that's an average of 24.9 per yards per return. 3 rushing touchdowns for a freshman who barely got the ball. Average over 5 yards per carry. Caleb Jackson, I really hope they give him a good dose of the football. At least over 15 carries. And he actually had, I think it was 50 receiving yards, 50 like on the dot receiving yards. So Caleb Jackson, I think the play he caught it and made the run after the play was where he plowed that guy over for the first time. So Caleb Jackson is an explosive freak who just, there's times when I watch him, he makes me think of guys like Fournette, of Kevin Falk, of Geis. Really, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, smash mouth guys, Ty Davis Price, who would also just be very violent running the football. I'm not going to include every great running back in LSU history. I'm only including the LSU running backs who I felt like were really violent when they ran the football. Charles Alexander, guys who almost like went out of their way to hit you, to absolutely truck you. Remember, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a torn hamstring when he played against Oklahoma, which the anniversary of that game was just yesterday. And I remember there's questions about don't even risk him for this game, hold him out for the national championship game, but then there's risks with the hamstring. If you don't at least get it loosened up a bit, it could get really tight on him for that national championship game. So they wanted to give him a run out at least a little bit, give him a few reps. And he has a few passing plays, a few rushing plays, and one of these plays, he absolutely goes after Justin Broyles, this safety for Oklahoma, and broils this Justin Broyles dude into the ground, pastes him into the ground. And everyone's wondering, including myself, if this guy is healthy, and we got to keep him safe, got to protect him. He's such a weapon for this team. And he's just, boom, just absolutely obliterates this guy. Pastes him, stamps him to the turf. And next thing you know, Ty Davis Price is coming in. Him and John Emery Jr. were freshmen at the time. And John Emery Jr. is not known for doing this. But TDP comes in, absolutely starts trucking guys too. Absolutely just blows over these dudes. Boom! Just absolutely blows over. I shouldn't use that. Absolutely just derails these dudes into the ground. And then John Emery Jr. is even doing it too. That Oklahoma game was something else because the swagger, the vibe, it was totally a recall to that. Not a recall, but just another chapter, I guess we could say, of that LSU rushing mentality, that classic LSU running back style that goes all the way back from a guy like Charles Alexander to Kevin Falk, even to Billy Cannon, the first Heisman winner at LSU. And, even a guy like Nick Brissett. There's so many amazing LSU running backs in this history. And Caleb Jackson, Trey Holly, and then you got Caden Durham coming in too as well. And then Josh Williams likely coming back for another year. Logan Diggs most likely coming back for another year. You really have an opportunity to have yet another stacked running back room again, even after losing a couple guys to the transfer portal. Armani Goodwin, Trey Bradford. It hasn't really seemed to hurt them at all. I'm probably forgetting another guy who transferred, probably. Mhm. This game, I mean, Luke Fickell. It was the weirdest move in my opinion when he went to Wisconsin. I still don't. I still like. I'm like, why did he go to Wisconsin? Like from Cincinnati to I just it was strange with all the offers he was getting. But I think that's because he's waiting for Ohio State. Obviously, he wants to go back and be the head coach at Ohio State. But um, it it's going to be an interesting game because Wisconsin. I'm not afraid of this team. I'm not worried about this team. I'm not shaking in my boots about this staff. But when you look at our defense, even against a 7-5 team who went 5-4 in the Big Ten and kind of throw the ball over the place, that's something I'm worried about. That we're just going to have a rough time against a team that likes to throw the football. And Graham Mertz, that's a dude who I'm worried about. Graham Mertz. Sorry, I misspoke there. Graham Mertz is that quarterback at Florida. Never mind. He actually had a good game against LSU until Braden Swinson sacked him. Of course, caused that fumble. And then after that, he completely collapsed in that game. But no, this Wisconsin game, you know, I, the thing with Lance Hurd that's bothering me, I know the focus. We have another game. I get that, but this Lance Hurd thing, LSU are stocked with talent on the offensive line, so it's all good. But you just never want to see LSU losing Louisiana guys who are going to be good because we saw him play. He had the most snaps of any offensive lineman who wasn't one of the that fixed starting five lineup of Turner, Frazier, Dellinger, Campbell, and Jones Jr. And he received the most snaps, and you knew he was going to be the next in waiting. But maybe he felt like I'm going to have to be sitting on the bench for 2 seasons in a row. Lance Hurd thought that, and he could have been right. Frazier's coming back, Dellinger's coming back, Turner might be even able to come back. What if they just don't want to move Jones Jr. in to guard? And Brad Davis is just not going to do that. And so it's like, how is he going to get on the field? Where is the pathway for him to get on the field unless someone gets injured? And so you see a guy like Marlon Martinez who's left because of that. He just wasted another one of his seasons in college. I remember there was a big hoopla about him, who he might be going in the portal, and LSU really made sure that he stayed for last season. And it totally it helped LSU because we were able to boost our depth chart, but it didn't do anything for him. He got like 15 snaps or something. Like, it was insane. Marlon Martinez played the fewest snaps of any season during his time at LSU. The one year that we begged him to come back. And now LSU is in such a position in offensive line that we can even let a 5-star, well, he probably lost his 5th star once he committed to LSU, but let's be real, he's a 5-star. That even a 5-star like Lance Hurd could walk out that door, and Brad Davis is going to be like, okay, we've got guys who can take your spot. Callaway, Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, I mean, even the guy like Bo Bordelon's in there. DJ Chester could be the next center. I mean, there's so many names in that offensive line. Core there that Brad Davis has. It's gotten beastly. Cohen Eccles as well. That's an army of offensive linemen, even without Marlon Martinez, potentially without Lance Hurd. He's not gone for good just yet to Ole Miss, but it's close. Let's take a look here. Breaking news: Ohio State star wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. will not play tonight in the Cotton Bowl versus Missouri. Of course he's not. Is that news? While Malik Neighbors is going to do it. These bastards. So no, what was I even talking about? Sorry, I started getting annoyed by this Marvin Harrison Jr. news. Ooh, Dominic McKinley says he's looking to sign during the first week of February. He's going to be visiting LSU in Tennessee in January. Interesting. Maybe that's the time LSU can make this happen, but see, that's the thing is we gotta have Mekhi Wingo return for next season. I think if we want to have a successful defensive line. I mean, you have Swinson, Smith, Mason Smith at his best, or maybe even up another level. Mekhi Wingo back healthy, back to his best, can actually fully move without that injury. And then Deshaun Womack. Oh my lord. That's a vicious defensive front. That could be very, very hard to contend with. Oh. Gerald Chapman, former LSU D-line analyst, is now the Florida D-line coach. That's so weird. Sorry, had to answer that text. That was a very important text. That will have to do with a story you'll be reading about very soon. One that I'm confident we can kind of watch develop until Monday, and then it will likely occur Monday night into Tuesday when that news will break. So you're hearing that first right here, right now. But you wanted changes at LSU. There's going to be certain changes that I think you're going to like that are going to be activated by Monday into Tuesday. So keep your eyeballs on that, because this is someone I trust very, very, very well, very, very much so. Um, I was telling Coach Chapman, congrats, and I called him Gerald Chapman. Congrats, Gerald Chapman, said a coach. Like, cringeworthy. Cringeworthy from me. Cringeworthy. So this game, obviously, first things first, Nuss, get Malik the record. Get him that record. Get him that record early, quick, 60-yard touchdown bomb. Whatever. Get him off the field. Because Malik, the worst thing after that Bolitnikoff robbery by one vote would be for him to pick up some really bad injury, and he falls like 2 yards short of this record, where he only needs 23 yards to break Josh Reed's all-time career receiving record at LSU, which has stood from 2001 till now. Had the holding penalty on Kyron Lacey against A&M not been called, Neighbors is probably not even playing in this game. He's already got the record. But you gotta love how Malik is willing to go ball to go get that record. And I don't know what is really making Brian Thomas Jr. play in this game, other than pure just love for teammates and wanting to just play another game. Just because he's a gamer, he's a baller. And you gotta love these two receivers for LSU. It was so fun watching these two guys. And I just wish that LSU could have found some kind of passing game in 2022 that could have optimized both of those guys the way they should have been used together. I don't know why we couldn't have done that while Mason Taylor had a really big breakout season and Malik had to gut out and wring out every yard of that 1,000-yard season that he had in 2022. The fact that he had 1,000 yards as a receiver in 2022 with our offense is incredible. Only getting 3 touchdown catches that season. So you want to see Malik get in the end zone. You want to see Malik get in the end zone, get the record safely, not by 5 yards or whatever, so they can contest this thing and maybe one stats site only has him, has the record by 1 yard or doesn't have just get him over the record safely where it's his and pull him off. Brian Thomas Jr., I'm sure, only gets probably about a quarter and a half as he kind of leads the rotation while he's kind of on the field, the chemistry that holds the glue together, running routes while they've got like Jaylen Brown, Sheldon Sampson Jr. on there getting the ball, getting targets their way. Kyron Lacy then becomes that guy. Brian Thomas Jr. goes and rests, and Kyron Lacy kind of plays it out. And they kind of audition Kyron Lacy for the rest of the game to be that number one veteran guy, while the young receivers underneath him are probably the guys that we're going to get the ball even more than we do Lacy. Just depends. Lacy could be so explosive and so dynamic and could take games over. 7 touchdowns this year, and it felt like he wasn't even that good. So if his default mode is 7 touchdowns, just imagine. Just a shame we're seeing these guys leave, Malik and Brian, but it is what it is. Get Nuss in an early rhythm. Get Nussmeier in an early rhythm, throwing it to short intermediary to your tight ends, Mac Markway, Mason Taylor, dump offs to the running backs, heavy doses of the running game, get Caleb Jackson the ball, get Josh Williams the ball, sprinkle in Trey Holly, sprinkle in Noah Kane, but really focus on those 3, getting them the bulk of the carries. And then really let Nussmeier take some deep shots. I mean, if you're not going to be throwing the deep ball at will in any game, this is the game. Like, this is the game to be just taking shots. And these are the players to do that with. Back shoulder fades to Sheldon Sampson Jr., deep ball out, out and ups, in and outs, whatever, with Jaylen Brown, burning guys on the route, on the stutter, and just basically streaking down the sidelines, with Nussmeier just leading them into the promised land. That's the type of play calling I want to see from Sloan Hankton, Sloan Hankton 2024. Like, this is their time to audition for that campaign. If they can still recreate that offensive explosion with a new quarterback and, dare I say it, a new offensive playbook, basically, then they deserve a real shot at being the OCs for next year. I don't know. I mean, would their overwhelming success in a bowl game with Nuss prove to you that they should be the OCs and they should run it as like a shared thing? Say we beat Wisconsin 50-9, something like that. Wisconsin gets like a few field goals. Our offense is so fucking dominant that it doesn't really even matter if our defense makes plays or not. And then Nussmeier just puts up crazy numbers. Guys all over the place get touchdowns. Would it tell you that these guys deserve the job? Would that be enough to hire Sloan and Hankton as co-OCs? That's our question. Because I think it's a very interesting question. Would that fit the bill for them to be sealed as the co-OCs? And I think you could also say, well, then who's going to be the quarterback coach? I already have an in-house replacement. Dean Petzing, who I believe technically his title is like an analyst. He is like always on the sidelines as the go-between between Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier and Mike Denbrock up in the booth. So you could promote within. Dean Petzing's already been around Nuss for 2 seasons. One of Brian Kelly's first hires. Frank Wilson, Kerry Cooks, guys like Robert Steeples, and then Dean Petzing coming over from Notre Dame, following Kelly from Notre Dame, a guy who worked with Tommy Rees as well. So, don't forget about Tommy Rees maybe coming to LSU. That would hurt Alabama at the same time as it would enrich LSU potentially, because that was Brian Kelly's first choice for the OC when he was coming to LSU. That was his first choice, and Rees was like no, and was loyal to Notre Dame. Gets this opportunity, go to Alabama, goes, and now has a chance to play for a national championship with Saban. And it's no one thought LSU was going to be making a change at offensive coordinator 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Everyone thought the change would be at defensive coordinator. That's what's so fucking crazy about college football nowadays. You literally, anyone claims they can predict what's going to happen next, they are fools. They are absolute fools if they can, hey, this guy's going to go here, this guy's going to go there. Like, you can get the information, you can get all that stuff beforehand and all that stuff, and it's great, but you never know until the actual move is done. And I have seen it bite people in the ass, including myself. Things turning on a dime in this Wild West college football. Deuce Chestnut, Denver Harris, especially Denver Harris, they could not transfer anywhere else. West Weeks, another guy, they're basically stuck at LSU. But then this 2-time transfer, forgiveness thing just comes out of nowhere. This rule comes out of nowhere, and you knew the second that rule was put in effect. And it's funny because I watched OTB with T-Bob and Jacob Hester today, as I do most days, and they said we knew the second that rule was put in that you were going to see Denver Harris transferring from LSU, and it's like, yep. And I get it. I mean, he basically was benched the entire season for what reason we're not sure. We don't know. But maybe it's the same type of stuff that was going on at Texas A&M. Was it a gamble LSU should have taken? Yes. It's just a gamble that didn't work, Whereas in like 2022, we were getting some guys from other teams in the transfer portal. A lot of those gambles worked. Jarek Bernard-Converse, Mekhi Garner was much more of a gamble than Bernard-Converse. There's just certain gambles that paid off. This offseason, J.K. Johnson tears his ACL. Denver Harris barely plays. Deuce Chestnut goes on strike, I think it is. So you had LSU kind of screwed with the cornerback transfer decisions that they made this offseason, whereas last offseason those types of decisions didn't really blow up in LSU's face. This season they did. And yet, Zy Alexander, who was a victim of a lot of criticism, was actually probably the biggest, not just success of the transfers, but probably the best corner on the team this last season. 7 pass breakups, leads the team. I think he had 2 interceptions and then got injured on the second interception, out for the season. But Javian Toviano is a guy I really can't wait to see in this game on Monday. And we put that in our 5 Tigers that you need to watch for this game on the article on our site. Because I feel like Toviano plays the game with such unbelievable aggression. It's so entertaining. It's so fun. It calls back to certain guys like, I know he's not a corner, but Eric Reed, hard hitting safety. Toviano hits just like that. And I get that's why they maybe want to see him as a safety. But I really think he's better at corner. I think it would be unwise and not smart to keep turning certain corners into safeties and just continuing in that vein, and safeties into corners. Like sometimes a guy is playing a position for a certain reason and keep him there. Sometimes these guys outsmart themselves. Yes, that's right. I'm eating yogurt. Is this an easy win for LSU? I think it should be, but I don't. I guarantee our defense is going to make this more difficult than it should be. Than it. It's going to be a lot more difficult with this defense. I think the defense is going to have some holes to it. But for some weird reason, something keeps telling me that this defense is going to actually pull off some big plays, no matter how many points they give up. And I think that's going to be a symptom of Matt House being forced to play a lot of these younger guys. Okay, my phone keeps blowing up with weird stuff. We're going to have to write something the next few days. It's going to be quite a grind because of some of these texts. Some news are coming for LSU that I just got to get prepared for so I can have these things ready to post. But for LSU Wisconsin, I'm anticipating a back and forth first half, and then LSU's defense makes a few turnovers, and LSU pulls ahead with Garrett Nussmeier and the receivers, the tight ends, running backs, all these skill position guys making big time plays. And this offense, maybe not rolling as clinically, as beautifully, as perfectly as the Denbrock Daniels and company show was. But I think you're going to see an offense that puts up 40 points, at least 41 points in this game. And I think it's going to be a lot to do. I think it will have a lot to do with that offensive line. Whether running the football, throwing the football, I think you're going to see awesome protections. I think you're going to see beastly offensive line play. And I think you're going to see LSU dominate in the trenches. And I think you're going to see, Mason Smith is a guy I should have put on the 5 Tigers we want to see, pay attention to for this game, because Mason, even though you'd say, oh, well, he's an obvious choice. No, he's kind of gone under the radar, and he's played a lot of snaps, but you just don't really see him. You don't really feel him making plays. You don't really see that impact outside of a few plays against Missouri. A pass breakup, and then he had that face mask sack that should have not gone uncalled, but it was like, okay, we'll take it. We really need to see him finish this season strong for his own sake, his own sanity. He's really got to go out there and make a few plays, and go into this offseason feeling good about something. Because when you look at his film, it is bad. It's a lot of just engaging, and there's no shedding. He just engages with these guys and just fights them. It looks like he gets lost in the game. And I think it has a lot to do with mental stuff. He doesn't want to cut on those knees, all this stuff, because he knows that knee can just buckle and tear out, like for just landing from jumping up, celebrating a teammate's tackle. So he knows kind of penetrating and using exploding moves and twitchy moves off the line of scrimmage from the interior. The way you're bending those knees, maybe to me, it's a mental thing. He's 100% in shape, well, at least in football shape. Now it's like, what's the barrier? It's got to be mental. And so the only way to get through that is just he's got to jump in head first, and he's got to make some plays. And I hope to God he makes some big plays that will just renew that confidence, that swagger for Mason Smith. That's all he's got to have. It's just something to just boost that swagger. Like bat the ball up in the air and then get a pick, get your first LSU interception. This guy's been here for 2 seasons already. Or sorry, it's been 3 seasons already, my bad. And one of them, he only played 1 game, tore his ACL, but he was still here for the whole season. Like, it's crazy that he's been here 3 years, Mason Smith. And in those 3 years, really, his freshman season, over a stretch of like a couple games, specifically McNeese, where he had a hat trick of sacks, 3 sacks on Coach Ed Orgeron's son, Cody. Other than that, in a sack against Florida, like, he hasn't done really much of anything at LSU. And that's crazy. If you were to tell people that, like, in 2021, hey, Mason Smith, in 3 years, by 2024, you're going to be wondering, like, what type of comeback he's going to have if he still has it going into that season. It would shock people, blow people away. And Garrett Nussmeier, for him, people saying, hey, you're going in 2024 with him finally getting the opportunity to actually start a game. Like, people will be blown away by that as well. It's always crazy at LSU. Things never go the way they should or seem, and sometimes that's for the better. Sometimes that's for the worse, but things happen, and LSU players, coaches, fans, we got to adapt and roll with it. But Mason Smith, I don't anticipate him going to the NFL unless he's being poorly advised, and so we got to have a big season from him. I don't really trust him having a big season next year without having a big bowl game here on Monday. It's so weird. LSU this year has played games on a Sunday, on Saturday, and a Monday. All in the same season. When the hell has that ever happened? The 2019 team only played games on a Monday and a Saturday. I apologize. That yogurt is just so damn good. I can't. Like, why don't they make giant tubs of those yogurts? Like, they only make the small little cups. I hate it. It's not enough. It's not enough. So yeah, for me, I'm really going to go with LSU winning this game, Reliaquest Bowl, 41-29 over Wisconsin, 41-29 over Wisconsin. We're gonna have Garrett Nussmeier throw for 350, 351, and three touchdown passes. The rest are going to come from the ground. Caleb Jackson is going to score a rushing touchdown. Josh Williams is going to have 2. And yeah, LSU you're gonna see Damian Ramos miss some PATs to make that score work, at least one. But yeah, that's the prediction. LSU wins this thing 41-29. Garrett Nussmeier, 351 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Or sorry, 3 touchdown passes. And, as much as people want to see the offense and how Nussmeier plays and everything like that, and that's going to be extremely interesting, the defense is really a big deal too. Kylan Jackson playing in this game, Deshaun Womack playing in this game, Whit Weeks playing in this game, Jordan Allen getting reps, Toviano getting reps, Tyji Hill, unless did he enter the portal, Tyji Hill? I think he did. Yeah, Tyji Hill did, yeah. And that was how that blows me away that I would not remember that, because that's how much he faded into the background once he committed to LSU, Tyji Hill. He really faded hard into that background. Really weird. I think he had a pass breakup. He batted a pass at the line of scrimmage, and that's like the only play I remember him ever making. That was this season. Sad. Sad when you see guys not make it at LSU. You want everyone to make it. You want everyone to have an impact, make plays, be part of a championship team. You want these guys to not only be successful, but become legends. You want all these guys to become icons, at least in my opinion. And so when they fall short of that, and not only that, but then just with years on the table, disappear into the ether, never to be a Tiger again, it hurts. It's sad to watch. But I still maintain connections with a lot of these guys who've transferred and their families. Once people want to start talking to me and they don't want me to go away, or they keep talking to me, then I'm still going to keep talking to them. And what's kind of interesting is sometimes people have a way of transferring and then transferring right back, like Trey Bradford. So you never know, especially with this 2-time transfer rule now. Maybe Max Johnson should have waited a bit. He could have transferred somewhere within the SEC again. But yeah, we think LSU are going to win 41-29. Nuss is going to have some big-time success, 351, 3 touchdown passes. I think Malik Neighbors catches one of those touchdowns, and then I think you're going to have Jaylen Brown catch another one, and then Shelton Sampson catch another. I think you're going to have 60-something yards from Mac Markway. I think Mason Taylor's going to catch a few passes, then kind of get rested. He's had an injury-laden year. I think they're just going to kind of lock everything up and just hope he heals thoroughly and perfectly in this offseason and starts fresh in spring. And let Mac Markway and Kamarion Pimpton, the hybrid, aerial colossus, hopefully get some targets his way. And that's the thing, is people don't even realize, but LSU has weapons all over the field. Just imagine if Aaron Anderson Another guy who I really want to see in this game, really want to pay attention to, number one on offense, receiver number one. Can Aaron Anderson get it going? Is there something that Nussmeier has throwing the football that Jaden Daniels didn't? Because Jaden Daniels and Aaron Anderson had zero chemistry, and Aaron Anderson actually would make Daniels look poor, and Daniels would make Anderson look poor. Like, both of them just had no chemistry together. Watch all the Aaron Anderson plays with Jaden Daniels. They're atrocious from both. The timing from Daniels is bad. The route running from Aaron Anderson is terrible. The hands is bad. Like, everything is bad when those two were on the field together. Maybe there's something with Nuss, his touch with the football, his timing, something that's going to pop with and ignite something in Aaron Anderson. That would be special to see for LSU. If Aaron Anderson had a big game on top of, say, Malik getting the record, and then Jaylen Brown scoring, Sheldon Sampson scoring, then you have Aaron Anderson scoring and having over 100 yards, say, for example. Even if he only gets 80 or 90, if he makes some big plays, for God's sake, his first of the season, that would be huge for LSU. Huge for LSU. Chris Hilton, what are we going to see from him? We know, Aaron Anderson could transfer somewhere now too, with the 2-time transfer rule being offered there. So I think it's imperative we get him targets and get him plays, because he could transfer right back to Alabama. We've got to make sure we get him plays, get him the football, make sure he knows that he is still a valued weapon. Because former 5-star. I mean, how many of these guys are former 5-stars we're talking about here that LSU just have hidden in the cupboards? It's a joke. All over the field on offense, defense, and we barely see these guys take the field, or just small doses of them. And it is only until year 2, year 3, with a gun to these coaches' heads, that these guys finally pop and explode like they should. I understand you want them to develop and grow, but if you have a chance to have a guy score double-digit touchdowns, do it. If you have a chance that this guy's just automatic with the football, get him 10+ catches a game. If Caleb Jackson can't be tackled with the ball in his hands, give him 36 carries in a game. I don't give a shit. We're a running team now. If our best players are running back, we are a running team. Like, that is the type of LSU football I want to see going forward with this team. Make use of these weapons all over the field, whoever it is. If it's the receivers, if it's the tight ends, if it's the running backs, whoever it is. Because Nussmeier is going to need the help next year. He's not Jaden Daniels, where he can escape every sack that might be coming, every hit that might be coming. He's going to need outlets. He's going to need those tight ends. He's going to need those running backs to be able to catch the football and make plays afterwards. He's going to need those receivers to be alive on the secondary routes. This game is perfect practice for all of that type of chemistry to be established. Because Wisconsin are going to come at us. Wisconsin are going to give us everything they've got, but LSU should win this game, and LSU should rise above. But here's the thing. We have to go take it. Wisconsin aren't going to give it to us. We have to go and fucking take it from Wisconsin, because they're not going to just hand us a victory here. And I think you're going to see Nussmeier fired up. Here's the thing, though. If we see bad body language and him shy away from the moment, that would be so stunning. It would follow him into the offseason. And we lose this game and all that stuff that entails, interceptions, the bad side of his game that people have always pointed at, certain haters of Nussmeier. I really hope he stamps his authority on this game and on this job, because that's really what this game is about. Not only an audition to it's not like go throw 400 yards and win us the game 60 to 10 or something. The audition is like, is this your job? are you the number one guy for us? Because we just came and got AJ Swan to kind of put that pressure, that make sure it's nipping at your heels. Like, there's so much, the circumstances are very adverse for Nussmeier, losing your offensive coordinator just barely as well. Like, but I think Nussmeier has the cojones. I think he's got the minerals to rise above all of the barriers or the obstacles in his way here. And I think he's going to have a hell of a game. I think guys like Caleb Jackson are going to have a hell of a game. I think you're going to see our defense have a poor first half and then turn it on in the second half. And I think it's going to be a lot of young guys making plays, causing turnovers, causing havoc, making sacks in the backfield, making it TFLs. I think you're going to see veterans like Harold Perkins, Braden Swinson, Zy Alexander kind of lead that way as well. But Javian Toviano, I think he's going to have an interception in this game. I hope he does. That would be beautiful. Deshaun Womack, Mason Smith. Hopefully these guys are involved in sacks, turnovers. Savion Jones. Our guy Harold Hibbard, a while ago, I saw a message from him when we were looking at some other texts that I was telling you about with a story. He said Savion with a question mark. I don't know what that was in reference to, but Savion Jones is an interesting player because he was supposed to be his moment where he took that next step. And it seemed because they put too much weight on him that he could not take that next step. The weight slowed him down. He was like 280, 285. And I think his speed, if you look at the tape in 2022, was his best asset. He was making sick plays coming off that edge, just flying at the quarterbacks like a human missile crisis. Get it? Cuban Missile Crisis, human missile crisis. Get it? Get it? Probably not if you weren't born in the 20th century. But I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, LSU, I think they're going to win this one 41-29. I think you're going to see big plays all over the field from LSU on offense. I think they're going to run the ball a lot, but Nussmeier's going to take some awesome shots. They're going to let him loose, take some shots downfield. I think you're going to see conservative kind of offense for long stretches, buoyed with some big plays down the field. Because I think they want the confidence to be there for us, but I think they're also going to, hey, we know we got to let him throw the football. Peace out, everybody. We'll be doing this again very soon.